Are you sure of that, Nancy? You're 100% certain?
Yes, I am sure of it. That's exactly what happened.
You were pretty shook up that day. That's when she picked up those scissors. Yeah, well, the scissors make all the difference in the world.
Well, there is a difference. There has to be a difference.
What are you going to do, Adam?
I don't know.
Are you going to say anything to Serena?
No. I think to make any indication, she's liable to just turn around and walk right on out again.
I've got an idea. Why don't I check up on Nancy's theory, start making some phone calls?
Yes, of course, she had to buy it. Somebody might remember.
I'd have to miss the court session.
That's all right, Mike. Fine.
I'll get in touch with you as soon as I hear anything definite.
Nancy, let's go on.
All rise. The criminal court of the county of Monticello is now in session. The Honorable P.J. Ryan presiding. You may be seated.
Mr. Drake, is the defense prepared to call its next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls the defendant, Mrs. Serena Faraday.
I thought you said...
Mrs. Serena Faraday, please take the stand.
Mrs. Faraday, you are a resident of Monticello, are you not?
Yes,
Prior to moving here, you lived in Capital City.
that's correct.
Why did you leave Capital City?
I didn't have any family there anymore, very few friends, and many unhappy memories.
Because of your divorce.
Yes,
From your husband, Mark Faraday.
that's right.
How long ago did that divorce become final?
About 2 years ago.
How old is your son?
9 years
Is he
old.
an only child?
Yes, he is.
All right. Mrs. Faraday, let's talk about another child. Let's talk about the child that you were in Capital City. That was your birthplace, was it not?
Yes, I was born in Capital City, but we moved when I was 12. We moved to Silver Springs, Colorado. And from there, it was Phoenix, Los Angeles, and lots of other places.
What was the reason for all the traveling?
No, really. My father's job, I think, and his health.
What about your health, Mrs. Faraday? Would you describe yourself as having been a healthy child?
Never had any physical disorders. I did have a problem.
Would you please explain to the court your problem?
All my life, I've suffered from blackouts.
You mean fainting spell?
No. There are moments when I lose track of time. I cannot account for what has happened to me for a stretch of hours.
Like periods of amnesia.
Yes, that's right.
Mrs. Faraday, did you receive any medical help for this problem?
I was under treatment for a time, but as I said, there was nothing physically wrong, and I think the doctor thought I was just making excuses because I was in trouble at school.
And when you left school, did these blackouts diminish, or did they intensify?
Well, they intensified. They always seemed to happen when I was under stress. I was angry, upset. Maybe I'd have a fight with my husband.
Oh, so you had these blackouts during the course of your married life?
Yes. Actually, that was when it started to get more serious. I wouldn't just lose hours. Sometimes I'd lose whole days at a time.
Did you ever forget where you were or what you had done for more than 24 hours?
Oh, yes. I sometimes wake up in a strange place, not know how I'd gotten there.
What kind of place?
Hotel rooms, sometimes. Once a movie theater at the edge of town. I'd never been there before. One time I came to in a city park. Restaurant once. Didn't realize what I'd just eaten.
But that was in Capital City.
Yes, I moved back to Capital City. It had been my home, after all. And that was where I met Mark.
Married him and subsequently divorced him.
Yes.
Mrs. Faraday, did these blackouts have any connection with your divorce?
I think so. I think they were a fairly direct cause. I didn't understand what was happening to me at the time. If I had known then what I know now, I don't think the divorce would have had to happen. I could have gone to a doctor and a lawyer.
Well, how did they affect your marriage?
Well, as you can imagine, my husband found it very difficult to have a wife who was always disappearing for a period of days. When this would happen to me, I would tell him that I'd been visiting friends, but after a while he stopped believing me.
So you lied about these blackouts?
Mr. Draper, I learned to lie about my blackouts very early. It started when I was a child. I was terrified. I was so afraid they'd think I was crazy and lock me up.
Mrs. Faraday, what did your husband think the reason was for these disappearances?
He thought I was having affairs with other men.
Were you?
I don't know. I mean that. I do not know. I know that I would like to think that that's not true. I know I loved my husband. I know I loved the child we had. Consciously, I never wanted to commit adultery.
Oh, but you admit to the possibility of infidelity.
Yes, of course, I admit to it. There's no way to prove that it wasn't a possibility. I can't remember anything that happened. Besides, there were certain indications that perhaps there had been an encounter with a man.
Hotel room?
Cigarettes in an ashtray, and I don't smoke. I'm just telling you all this because I'm under oath. I never wanted any of it to happen like this. I really didn't, not me.
No, not you, but perhaps somebody else. All right, Mrs. Faraday, as I understand it, you now feel that your divorce should never have happened.
That's right. I feel, all things being equal, that my divorce shouldn't have happened. All things were not equal. My husband had to put up with a woman of unpredictable moods.
Was your husband embittered by the divorce?
Yes, I think he was, very much so. He was also very angry about the custody settlement. He didn't want me to have Tim. He fought that. He said I was an unfit mother, based on his suspicions. However, there wasn't any evidence that I'd done anything wrong.
Well, not that Serena Faraday had done anything wrong. All right, so the court awarded Serena Faraday custody of the child. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Miss Faraday, in light of what you know now about yourself, don't you view the past in a different light?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, this woman who did do something wrong, this woman who may well have been an unfit guardian or parent for an 8-year-old boy may not have been you at all. May have been an entirely different personality inhabiting your body. A personality that embraced a morality entirely alien to your own. In a word, a woman named Josie. Mrs. Faraday, would you please explain to the court how we first met?
You were doing some legal work for my ex-husband's publishing firm.
At that time, you were problemed with threats against your life.
Yes.
Your apartment had been vandalized, and there were death threats left in the apartment. On one occasion, written on a mirror. You at first thought that your ex-husband was the author of those messages. As a matter of fact, we've got a hold of the police, and they found out that he did indeed have a key to your apartment still.
Yes.
But it wasn't he who wrote those messages, was it? It was you.
Well, we learned that. I had no knowledge of making threats against
No,
my
but that
own
was
life.
the beginning of knowledge, was it not? It was the beginning of the knowledge of the disorder from which you were suffering. How was that diagnosed?
Well, actually, the diagnosis came after I left Capital City, when I moved here to Monticello with my son, Timmy.
No, you didn't come with Timmy. He was still in boarding school.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Go on.
For the first time in my life, here in Monticello, I had friends. People who cared about me, worried about me. They convinced me to go into therapy, psychiatric therapy.
With Dr. Quentin Henderson.
That's right, Dr. Henderson, who is a wonderful doctor.
And in therapy, you discovered that you were suffering from a psychiatric disorder known as multiple personality.
That's right.
Were you shocked when you learned the nature of your problem?
Well, at first I couldn't accept it. I refused to believe it, especially when I heard about all the things that the other personality supposedly had done.
What things do you recall?
They were stories, Mr. Drake, each one worse than the last. I don't recall anything. It was like hearing about another person, which, of course, Josie was.
Did you know that Josie dressed differently, that she wore heavier makeup, that she wore a dark wig?
I was told
Did you know that she drank heavily? She frequented bars, cocktail lounges, flirted openly with men, even married men?
I was told that.
Did you know that she shared an apartment with a notorious criminal named Gerald Kincaid?
I didn't know anything
Did
about
you know
the
that
apartment.
she was picked up once by the police in the company of Gerald Kincaid?
I was not aware of that.
Were you aware of the fact that the gun that Josie used to kill Mark Faraday was owned by Gerald Kincaid?
I don't... What? No, Gerald Kincaid. If I were to meet him today, I simply would not know him. I don't have any recollection of going to any apartment and getting any gun. I do not remember ever using any gun. I do not remember killing Mark.
May we have silence in the room, please? Please. Go ahead, Mr. Drake.
All right, Mrs. Faraday. Do you remember an incident when Mrs. Nancy Karr, your good friend, Mrs. Nancy Karr, came to visit you when your alter ego, Josie, was in full possession of your body?
Don't remember that. I've been told about it. I have no memory.
Well, I'm talking about the incident when Nancy, incidentally, she's one of the few people who's seen you as both Serena and Josie, removed the dark wig from Josie's head, revealing the fact that Josie and Serena are one and the same person. You don't remember that?
No.
You don't remember that Josie threatened Nancy Karr with a nail file?
No, I don't.
You do know, of course, that Josie is capable of such a thing. That Josie is capable of anything without hesitation, without moral reservation, without fear of consequence.
Yes, of course. Josie is. I'm not. And Josie's gone.
Isn't it true that your husband reinstituted court proceedings in order to regain custody of your child?
Yes, that's true.
In your opinion, why did he do that?
I think Mark wanted to hurt me.
Oh, so you feel that it was bitterness rather than parental love that was motivating him?
Yes, I honestly do believe that. Mark knows that Timmy is the only thing in the world that matters to me. He knew it would have been the best way to hurt me.
Why do you suppose that he figured that he could win that battle in view of the original court ruling?
Because he had learned about me the same thing that I had learned myself.
That you were suffering from a psychiatric disorder known as multiple personality.
He knew I was ill. He knew I was in treatment. I think he thought that that would make a court more sympathetic to his point of view, that I was unfit to take care of my son.
But there was some merit in that argument, was there not?
I was sick. I was trying to get well.
Yes, but while you were going through therapy, you might have jeopardized the health of your son.
I would never have hurt Timmy.
No, not knowingly, of course. But then Josie might not be the same kind of mother that you are.
I have never heard of Josie doing anything to harm Timmy.
Oh, don't you remember the school authorities up at the boarding school said that Josie came up there, introduced herself as Timmy's mother, and subjected him to moments of terror and panic?
That's not true. Timmy has never indicated to me in any way that he was that terrified of that other personality.
Well, doesn't it stand to reason? There's an 8-year-old boy. And he's introduced to somebody who presents themselves as his Aunt Josie, and then he finds out it's really his mother.
Yes, it certainly stands to reason, and that's why I am so very glad that the Josie part of me is gone.
What do you remember of those court proceedings?
Too much.
Was it your opinion that the judge, in all likelihood, would have ruled against you?
Yes, that was my opinion.
Is that why you rushed from the judge's chambers, because you couldn't bear to lose your son?
Yes.
What happened after? Where'd you go?
I don't remember.
But you do remember leaving the judge's chambers.
Yes, I remember. Blur. hardly able to see the door. Blank.
A blank? Or a blackout?
Blackout. Just the way it's been all my life. I lose control. She takes over.
Oh, I see. So you figured Josie took over. Josie went to Gerald Kincaid's apartment, right? Josie found Gerald Kincaid's gun. Then Josie went back to the courthouse and on the steps of the courthouse shot Mark Faraday.
Josie, not me.
No, you wouldn't do anything like that.
No, never.
What's the next thing that happened?
Police surrounding me, telling me about what she did.
She. Josie.
Josie.
And that's the last blackout that you remember?
Yes.
No repetition of that at all?
Yes.
That's
no.
why you say that Josie's gone, is that right?
Yes, that is.
And you are now in complete control of your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit.
Yes.
And that incident, killing of Mark Faraday, that was the last action by Josie to your knowledge.
Yes, that's
The
right.
whole thing was a catharsis.
Well, yes, maybe, and perhaps it was also the result of the work with Dr. Henderson.
Oh, I see. Dr. Henderson effected a cure, did he?
Yes. I think, along with the help of all my wonderful friends, Mike Karr, Nancy Karr, you, Adam, all the people who helped me get rid of the demon inside me.
Is the little devil gone?
Oh, yes, completely gone.
You're under oath.
What do you mean
I
by
said,
that?
remember, you're under oath to
And
tell
I
the truth.
said, what do you mean by that?
I'm saying that you were brought to this stand as Mrs. Serena Faraday, but you are obliged to tell the truth, no matter whom you consider yourself to be.
I do not understand you.
I'm asking you a direct question. I expect to receive a direct and simple reply. Who are you? Are you Josie? Right now? Answer the question. Are you Josie right now?
Of course not. That's a ridiculous
Did you
question.
tell me that Serena Faraday was submerged totally on 1 December 1975 when Josie shot and killed Mark Faraday?
Silence. Please. Mr. Drake. I hope you realize that you are now treating your own defendant as a hostile witness.
Yes, Your Honor, I realize that.
I would very much like to know how the prosecution feels about this bizarre proceeding.
The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor.
Well, I'm not at all sure that the court doesn't.
Your Honor, I beg the court's indulgence.
No. You can't let him go on asking me questions like that, Judge. It's not fair. He's supposed to be my lawyer.
Mrs. Faraday, both attorneys are entitled to ask any question that will help elicit the truth.
But that isn't the truth. That's a terrible lie. Can't you
I beg-
understand?
let
Why
me-
would I say something like...
Proceed, Mr.
Thank you.
Drake.
No, I won't answer any more questions. I will not answer another question.
You will be held in contempt of court if you don't.
I'll plead the Fifth Amendment.
May I remind you, Mrs. Faraday, that you took the witness stand voluntarily.
Let me ask you a question about your hair.
What?
I said, let me ask you a question about your hair.
What am I
A couple
making?
of days ago, Nancy Karr came over to visit you. You were cutting your hair, weren't you?
Yes?
And you cut a good deal off, right?
I don't have to answer silly questions.
Well,
I don't
isn't
have to
it
answer
strange
silly
that your hair is no shorter now than it was the day before you
Judge,
cut it?
Please, I don't have to answer any more stupid questions.
Answer the question, Mrs. Faraday.
All right. Nancy Karr. Nancy straight. Nancy Karr has been wanting to make everybody think I was crazy for a very long time. Nancy Karr's been wanting to make everybody think I'm crazy for a very long time.
I thought you said she was your best
She
friend.
doesn't want me to get to me. She'll do anything to keep to me. Anything.
Sit down. Josie.
Donnie and Marie and Love Story tonight. First, Gabriel Kaplan of Welcome Back, Kotter, Ruth Buzzy and Paul Lynn visit Donnie and Marie, tonight at 8, 7 Central. Then Ryan O'Neal and Ally McGraw star in Love Story on the Friday night movie tonight. Can the U.S. continue to fund such programs as Medicare and Medicaid and Survive? Find out on Medicine and Money at ABC News Close-Up tomorrow at 10, 9 Central on ABC.
You to join us each weekday afternoon for The Edge of Night.